Don't know. It keeps happening.
I wonder, was it there last night? I didn't even look at it. I don't know if it was there last night or not.
I saw it. It was there.
It was there last night? Maybe we didn't knock it over. I didn't look at it.
Yeah. The people who knock it over is the daytime people. Because we're up there, we're rushing. It already happened one time last week. One trial and broke.
I could have knocked it over trying to get the strings.
Just a small thing.
For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest. Not many people go to conquest. One should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Srinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Srinvatam Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha,
Punyan Kirtanaha,
Vidyantasko Vadrani,
Vidyantasko Vadrani,
Vedumoti Suhritsatam,
Vedumoti Suhritsatam.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when heard and chanted. Properly heard and chanted. Nashtapreshu Vadreshu
Nasvareshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki
Bhakti Bhakti Naistaki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So we have vast crowds, and our verse is, let's see, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, and title, what's the chapter entitled?
The first step in cloud realization.
No, of course, I was thinking we move to the next one. Okay, verse 38. Yan, Asav, Ishvara, Vigrahasya, Yan, Asav, Ishvara, Vigrahasya, Sanivesha, Katito, Maya, Te, Ya Sanivesha, Katito, Maya, Te, Sandharyate, Smen, Vapushi, Stavishte, Sandaryate, Smen, Vapushi, Stavishte, Mana, Swabudhya, Yato, Kinchit, Mana Swabudhyana Yatosti Kinchit, Iyana Sav Ishvara Vigrahasya, Yasanivesha Katito Mayate, Sandharyate Smin Vapushi Stavishte, Manaswabudhyana Yatosti Kinchit, Iyana Savishvara Vigrahasya, Yasani Vesha Katito Mayate, Sanaryate Smin Vapushi Stavishte, Manaswabudhyana Yatosti Kinchit. Now I was counting with my fingers to remember, and I moved my fingers. Is that 2 or 3?
That was three.
Okay.
Yana Savishwara Vigrahasya, Yasanivesha Kahito Mayati Te. It's not Tite, which is supposed to be Te. Sandaryate Smin Vapushi Stavishte, Manaswabudhyana Yatosti Kinchit, Hare Krishna.
Iyanasisvara Vigrahasya, Yasaniveshan Katito Mayate, Sandaryate Smin Vapushi Staviste, Manaswabudhyana Yatosti Kinchit,
Iyana Savishvara Vigrahasya, Yasanishvesha Katito Mayate, Sandaryate Smin Vapushi Stavishte, Manahasvabudhyana Yatosti Kinchit,
dark.
These lights aren't on. Are they on for a reason?
Oh, so
Nobody
something
turned
is
on
not
these.
right here. Everywhere was so dark, and I
Yeah, it's
was like,
really
so this
dim.
lights were not on. Okay.
Like I'm
All of a sudden, this place
speaking to
is so dark.
someone's.
We're saving electricity.
Oh, I see. That's fine too. She's squinching her eyes. There.
If I make a little
Big difference.
The antique used to do that, see? That's the person who was always turning on the light.
Turning off. Oh,
But she would turn it on
Oh,
at this point. She, when we start the Guru Puja, she would be the one who turned it on.
So everybody became.
And everybody just kind of waited for her to do it.
And what happened today?
She's not here, and she's in Hawaii.
Oh, our little one. Yes. She'll be back.
Okay, word meanings. Iyan.
Iyan.
All these.
All these.
Asau.
So that
Ishvara.
Ishvara,
Supreme Lord.
Supreme Lord,
Vigrahasya.
Vigrahasya,
Of the form. Yaha.
Yaha, whatsoever,
Saniveshaha.
Sanideshaha,
As they are located.
as they are located,
Katitaha.
Katitaha,
Explain.
explain,
Maya.
Maya,
By me.
be it by me,
Te.
te,
Unto you.
unto you,
Sandharyate.
Sandhayate,
One may concentrate.
one may concentrate,
Asmin.
asmin,
In this.
in this,
Bapushi.
Bapushi,
Form of Virat.
form of Virat,
Stavishte.
Staviste,
In the gross.
in the gross,
Manaha.
Manaha,
Mind.
mind,
Swabudhya.
Swabhuja,
By one's intelligence.
by one's intelligence,
Na.
na, not,
No.
Yataha.
yataha,
Beyond him.
beyond him,
Asti.
asti,
There is.
there is,
Kinchit.
kinchit,
Anything else.
anything else.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, it is on.
Yep.
I have thus explained to you the gross material. I've thus explained to you the
Is it
gross
off?
material gigantic conception of the personality of Godhead. It's on here, but I don't think it's on somewhere.
Try switching it off and back on.
One who seriously desires liberation concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord, because there's nothing more than this in the material world.
I think there's a loose connection on
The back.
the because there was a pop sound.
There's a pop sound.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, okay. Electronics always do all these things where you gotta wiggle them and nobody knows where you have to wiggle it.
Short.
Okay. Please repeat. I have thus explained to you
I have thus explained to you
the gross material gigantic conception.
the gross material gigantic conception
Gotta get it all in there. The gross material gigantic conception of the personality of Godhead.
of the personality of Godhead.
One who seriously desires liberation
One who seriously desires liberation
concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord.
concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord,
Because there's nothing more than this
because there's nothing more than this
in the material world.
in the material world.
So, purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:10, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has verily explained that the material nature is only an order-carrying agent of His. She is one of the different potencies of the Lord, and she acts under His direction only. As the Supreme Transcendental Lord, He simply casts a glance over the material principle, and thus the agitation of matter begins, and the resultant actions are manifested one after another by 6 kinds of gradual differentiations. All material creation is moving in that way, and thus it appears and disappears in due course. Less intelligent persons with a poor fund of knowledge cannot accommodate the thought of this inconceivable potency of the Lord Sri Krishna, by which he appears just like a human being, Bhagavad Gita 9:11. His appearance in the material world as one of us is also his causeless mercy upon the fallen souls. He is transcendental to all material conceptions, but by his unbounded mercy upon his pure devotees, He comes down and manifests himself as the personality of Godhead. Materialistic philosophers and scientists are too much engrossed with atomic energy and the gigantic situation of the universal form, and they offer respect more seriously to the external phenomenal feature of material manifestations than to the noumenal principle of spiritual existence. The transcendental form of the Lord is beyond the jurisdiction of such materialistic activities. And it is very difficult to conceive that the Lord can be simultaneously localized and all-pervasive, because the materialistic philosophers and scientists think of everything in terms of their own experience. Because they are unable to accept the personal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Lord is kind enough to demonstrate the Virat feature of his transcendental form. And herein, Srila Sukadeva Goswami has vividly described this form of the Lord. He concludes that there is nothing beyond this gigantic feature of the Lord. None of the materialistic thoughtful men can go beyond this conception of the gigantic form. The minds of the materialistic men are flickering and constantly changing from one aspect to another. Therefore, one is advised to think of the Lord by thinking of any part of his gigantic body. And by one's intelligence only one can think of him in any manifestation of the material world. The forest, the hill, the ocean, the man, the animal, the demigod, the bird, the beast, or anything else. Each and every item of the material manifestation entails a part of the body of the gigantic form, and thus the flickering mind can be fixed in the Lord only and nothing else. This process of concentrating on the different bodily parts of the Lord will gradually diminish the demoniac challenge of godlessness and bring about gradual development of devotional service to the Lord. Everything being a part and parcel of the complete whole, the neophyte student will gradually realize the hymns of each Upanishad, which state that the Supreme Lord is everywhere, and thus he will learn the art of not committing any offense to the body of the Lord. This sense of God-mindedness will diminish one's pride in challenging the existence of God. Thus one can learn to show respect to everything, for all things are parts and parcels of the Supreme Body. Om Jnana Timiranda Syagya
Nanjana Shalakaya
Chakshu Unnilitam Yena Tasmai Shri. Thank you all for coming today, because without you, I'd be alone in this room.
Oh, Prabhupada did that.
Yeah,
Did.
yeah.
Never long.
And actually, the very first time I was here, the first day I was here, I thought there was nobody else in the room, so I just said, I'm going to sit down and read the Bhagavatam. And then I thought, okay, I'll get up. I just said something to Prabhupada about the realization I had. I started to get up, and Jai Putney came walking in. And I thought, if she could make it all the way over here, I better sit down and talk a little more. And that's how this whole thing started. I'm serious. I mean, maybe there was more classes before I got here, I don't know, but that was my first experience.
Well, there were classes before you got here.
Well, it didn't seem,
There were some off days, though.
The Mangalarti is a specific time. This is the very means of conquest. We're a farm, and people want to work in the morning. Can this be rescheduled, right after the work period?
Thinking about
and
this,
before
but
lunch?
Then I thought, well, we are recording them. Maybe we should have them. They have to listen to the recording and
At lunch?
and write down something that they got from it and show that they listened to it. Write down something that was in it. It's one idea. Because, I don't know, the young people especially are the ones able to work on the farm, but they're also the ones who don't come to class. So they should be.
But this is so important.
Yeah.
but there's other people that could be coming with them.
Yeah,
Even like before the class, I see them on their phones and stuff, and then all of a sudden it comes class. So
yeah, too. But at least,
and so
at
the
least
young
you
people
know.
see that as an example of what
Yeah, that's a compliment.
Bhakti Raghava Maharaj at his farm in South India, they reschedule certain things. Mangalarti is Mangalarti.
Yeah, reschedule these.
They reschedule some of the farm and some of the work because this is the best time for them to be out.
So anyways, we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Well, it's on, but like you said, we're recording it, so we can do what we can do.
Yeah.
But at least someday, and on many days, they could be coming. And I don't know if that, you have to pay attention to see whether or not they get so much into the habit of not coming that on a rainy day they don't come. So those kinds of little things, but it isn't, it's only specifically, I would think, during the spring and summer here, because maybe part of the fall. The winter months, there's no reason.
Oh, yeah, right beyond early when it's cold.
Yeah. So, and we did, anyway, actually, this could be just an off day or something, I don't know. Because generally, there's a few more people on this here.
Yes. So I think we'll start.
Anyway, there's a lot of people here. We have Srimad Radharani. And so on.
So, okay. So we begin the class.
Okay.
Did I say Om again? Tim Radhasan? Did not too much like
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Never hurts to say it twice. I mean, all I'm hoping to get.
Maybe 3 times.
Yeah, maybe say it for a while. Okay, anyway, so in the purport, I'll read that verse again. I have thus explained to you the gross material gigantic conception of the personality of Godhead. One who seriously desires liberation concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord, because there's nothing more than this in the material world. So, in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, I just read the references here and cover them first. Madhyakshina prakriti suyache sa characharam hetunanena kamteya jagat vipartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O Sanakunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. It's clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although removed from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will in the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that of all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different activities or bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated, and everything is created immediately. So, let me go back. There's a lot more, but so the material nature is the connection here is the Virat Rupa form of the Lord, universal form of the Lord, is made out of material nature, which is his energy, which is the difference with us and the Lord. It's as if he has a body, a material body like we do, but the difference is his material body is made out of his own energy and is completely under his control. And it's a huge body and he fills it completely. And we are just little souls and we only fill one little body and we're not in control of it. It's not our energy and we don't know how it works. So there's a big difference there. But there's some similarity too you can compare, because there's the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form made of material energy. So there's some comparison there. One can draw some conclusions from that partially. So that's what's happening here. And it says also in this first paragraph, as the Supreme Transcendental Lord, he simply casts a glance, which was mentioned in the other purport that I just read, simply casts a glance over the material principle, and thus the agitation of matter begins, and the resultant actions are manifested one after another by 6 kinds of gradual differentiations. All material creation is moving in that way, and thus it appears and disappears in due course. So there's both in Canto 2 and in Canto 3, there's description of the creation, how the subtle creation begins, and how, first of all, the elements are created before Brahma does anything, just by the Lord's glance, and especially in, in 2, 5, 26, 27, 26, 27, let's see. Okay, 16, 21. Okay. Yeah, that's 21. Okay, I'm going to read the Sanskrit really long. I have several verses here. English. Because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch. And by previous succession, the air is also full of sound and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated, taking shape with the sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there's a manifestation of water, full of juice and taste. As previously, it also has form and touch, and is also full of sound. And water, being transformed from all variegatedness on earth, appears odorous, and as previously, becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound, and form, respectively. So, of course, first of all, the ether, the space is creating their sound, and the air is creating their sense of touch. Let's say before that about sound. From the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in relationship with the seen. I'm not going to try to figure out how to explain that part of the sentence, but the subtle form of ether is the quality of sound. So ether is like space and it has sound in it. Then from that, air, and air also has sound in it too, and it also has touch, because you can feel the wind blow. You can't feel space. You can feel the wind blow. Then it transforms some more, and there's fire. And fire is in one place and not another place. Also, fire makes light, and then you can see. So from fire, because of fire, there's form. The air doesn't have any form. It's just everywhere, and you can feel the blowing. So fire has form. Then it transforms some more into water, which has form. Okay, gives you vision, gives you sight. Then water gives you taste, because it's full of flavors and tastes and so on, juices. And it also has all the previous qualities. It has sound, it has touch, it has form. Water has form, you can splash it, you can see the drops go, it has form. And then it has taste. And then water transforms further, and there's earth. And earth has all these things, and there's then plus smell, odors. So that's how not only are the gross elements separated out one from another, but also the sense objects and sense qualities, and the sense organs ability kind of there are no gross sense organs yet, because this is before the bodies are created. However, sense organs exist anyway in the subtle way, and the Virat Rupa wants to smell, so it wants to taste, so on. So these things exist in a subtle way, and Lord Brahma just creates out of this pattern, out of this already existing stuff, he creates the particular bodies and the particular planets. And all this is done by Lord Krishna's glance, but it doesn't say so yet here. It says so in the next canto, canto 3. 6, creation of the universal form. Something else. Isn't 3:5? Yes, 3:5. The transformations of creation. 3:5:32 and 3:5:26.
3:5:30.
The Doris talks with Maitreya in that chapter. So way down 36, no, it starts, I think 26. It starts the whole progression, and it starts in 26. I was finding all this stuff last night. Okay, 26. The Supreme Living Being, in his feature as the transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus by the influence of eternal time the living entities appear. So nature already has three modes. I think that probably is above. So it's first there's the undifferentiated Mahatma. There's three modes, and then it starts forming further. Thereafter, influenced by the interactions of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter, called the Mahatma, became manifested, and this Mahatma, in this Mahatma, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body. 28. Thereafter, the Mahatma differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahatma is chiefly in the mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. It is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification. The Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in 3 phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in 3 different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. See, all this is very hard, probably very hard to even put it into words. It's all very subtle stuff, and it's very hard to understand in a precise way like we want to understand science. It's hard for me. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego with the mode of goodness. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion and false ego, and therefore philosophical speculative knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion. The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. This is 33. Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, because this is what isn't really mentioned in Canto 2, but this glance. Although it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, but the telling of it in chapter 2 didn't mention the Lord's glance. But in this one, each time it's the glance of the Lord. He glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world. Didn't mention the glance in that particular chapter, but where is this glance? All right, I tell you it's here. No, it's not here. Anyway, I'll keep reading. Thereafter, the water produced from electricity. When electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme, at that time by a mixture of eternal time and external energy. Always eternal time and external energy mix, and there is a glance. I'm going to tell them. There occurred the creation of water and taste. Thereafter, the water produced from electricity was glanced over, we're on track again, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and mixed with eternal time and external energy. Thus it was transformed into the earth, which is qualified primarily by snow. O gentle one, of all the physical elements beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it talks about the demigods. Okay, I think that's... Okay, let me go back to the original chapter. So, in those 2 chapters, in those 2 paragraphs, so in the first paragraph, the purport of today's verse says, this sentence appears, as the Supreme Transcendental Lord, he simply casts a glance over the material principle, and thus the agitation of matter begins, and the resultant actions are manifested one after another by 6 kinds of gradual differentiations. All material creation is moving in that way, and thus it appears and disappears in due course. So 6 kinds of gradual transformations. The first is you have the Mahatattva, false ego, kind of. Then you have, from that you have the sound and ether. Then you have, another, that's 1 transformation. Then you have, comes out to 6 this way. Then you have from ether to air by the glance of the Lord, that's 2. Then from air to fire, that's 3. From fire to water, that's to the sun.
4.
It's got to be 6. From, maybe it comes out, first of all, to the Mahatattva. Mahatattva becomes the false ego. But anyway, then, somebody came out to 6 last night. Then to the ether, then from ether to air, from air to fire, then from fire to water, from water to earth. Somehow, I think the first one is the Mahatattva and the false ego comes first.
Where does the mind go?
Where's the mind? In there. Well, actually, a lot of transformations, but Prabhupada says 6 in this one, so I said, which are the 6 main ones that he's talking about here? So I'm sure he's talking about this process. But mind was, if I remember, what is that?
False ego is transformed into mind.
Yeah, the false ego is in the mode of ignorance, and by intermixing with the mode of goodness, mind is produced. And the mode of passion, the senses are produced. The demigods are also produced by a false ego mixed with mode of goodness. It all seems kind of like, why doesn't it go mode of goodness to mode of passion to mode of ignorance in descending order? But actually, to have a false ego at all, it's got to be mode of ignorance. And then, okay, mind puts you back up a little bit because you have the opportunity. So.
It's also passion is creation.
Creation. So it's in, but I don't remember it said how in this particular one where passion, mode of passion came, but it said senses are in the mode of passion. It didn't say how it came out, where it came from.
The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion and false ego.
What, the senses?
Mm-hmm.
Senses?
Yeah, 3, 5, 31.
Yeah, so mode of passion and false ego.
So Brahma is in charge of passion because he's in charge of creation.
Yeah, but I'm not sure he's even been born yet on the lotus flower when all this is happening. Because this is perhaps the...
When he came, there was nothing.
No, but there's also the subtle creation which then Brahma appears. Because first of all, there has to be like a blueprint in the mind of the Lord. So Mahatma develops all these... There's another place which I did find where the person, the rupa form of the Lord desired to, or the Purusha? Yeah, the Purusha desired to hear, desired to feel, desired to see, desired to see. So the sense of touch came into play. But there weren't any bodies yet. Brahma came later in that story, I'm pretty sure. There weren't any bodies yet. So the Virat Rupa, the Purusha desired to smell. So these subtle forms came into being. The only way I can think, it must be the potential. The elements were divided up into their particular specific forms, and the potential is there, and the blueprint is there within the mind of the Purusha. And then Lord Brahma has access to the blueprints of that mind, and he also has access to the material energy, which is now ready for him to arrange it. This is my understanding after many times reading it, but it's very confusing. Okay, less intelligent persons with a poor fund of knowledge cannot accommodate the thought of this inconceivable potency of Lord Shri Krishna, by which he appears just like a human being. 9:11, so let's read that too. 9:11. Avajananti mamudha manushyam tanam ashritam param bhavam ajananto mamabhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. So, I'll go back. His appearance in his causeless mercy. His appearance in the material world as one of us is his causeless mercy on the fallen souls. Gives us a chance to see him as a person. Gives us a chance to fall in love with his beautiful form, which is not different from himself, and to desire to serve him and be with him. And desire to have something more than this world. He is transcendental to all material conceptions, but by his unbounded mercy upon his pure devotees, he comes down and manifests himself as a personality of Godhead. So he has to manifest himself in a form that our material senses can see, because only Arjuna was given spiritual eyes. That was a special event when Arjuna was given spiritual eyes, because Lord Krishna walked among us in ways that our material eyes could see. So in fact, it says somewhere that when he actually left a body, when he left this world, he actually left a body made of material energy that he was wearing, was using, was manifesting over his spiritual body so that we could see him. So he did leave that. But of course, it's not like us leaving a body, because his body is not different from him. It's made of his material energy. And it's just a show for the demons. That's all, for those who don't believe in him.
Prabhupada said for the
atheists. Sorry. Yeah, demons are atheists. Yeah, but there's, it's not that funny. It's to show for the atheists that they don't want to believe in him, they can still not believe in him if they choose. If you want to believe in him, then you have this explanation, this understanding. Materialistic philosophers and scientists are too much engrossed with atomic energy and the gigantic situation of the universal form. Now this was confusing to me. I had to think deeply about it. I understand they're too much engrossed with atomic energy, But aren't we talking about the gigantic universal form? I think he means here that they like to measure how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they like to measure how tiny the atoms are and what the atoms, how the atoms recombine, and they like to measure how big the universe is. So they're so engrossed in that. So they can offer respect more seriously, and they offer respect more seriously to the external phenomenal feature of material existence than to the noumenal principle of spiritual existence. I looked up those two words too, noumenal and phenomenal. Noumenal means that which can be comprehended by the mind or intelligence, and phenomenal means that which can be measured by the senses. So the phenomenal world is the world that we see and that the scientists measure. And the noumenal world is this world that we're entering when we read the Bhagavatam. We comprehend with our intelligence. We can't see with our senses. So that's noumenal. The transcendental form of the Lord is beyond the jurisdiction of such material activities, meaning what the scientists are studying, and it is very difficult to conceive that the Lord can be simultaneously localized and all-pervasive, because materialistic philosophers and scientists think of everything in terms of their own experience. They can only be in one place at a time, so if God's in one place, he can't be in the other place. So, but he can. He can be everywhere and also specifically local. So his whole self is present. The Purusha's whole self is present in my heart, in your heart, everybody's heart, in every atom, individually present. I mean, it's not like just a little tiny microscopic part of himself. Although he expands, Krishna says, a single fragment of myself I pervade and support this entire universe. And he's within every, but still he's not different, he's not separated, he's not cut up into littler pieces. And so then later, just a few sentences later, the Sri Upanishad is mentioned. And I looked up and reread all the, I guess they're called mantras of the Sri Upanishad. And it's amazing, there's a whole lot about the universal form in there. And about, as it says here, let's see, maybe there's some stuff in between of it too. Let's see, when we get to it. So, because there are scientists are unable to accept the personal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Lord is kind enough to demonstrate the Virat feature of his transcendental form. Again, this one gives me trouble. He demonstrates the phenomenal aspect of his Virat feature, and you don't have to become God conscious just because you're looking at nature. But we have the opportunity to think about how God must have created this, and God must be within it. And so we can look at nature, like we can look at, suppose you like birds, you think they're beautiful. You think, well, wow, this shows that God has a taste sense of, as an artistic sense. But that's all the further you can get, that there must be a God who created this and he's got an artistic sense. Then you are making progress thanks to the Virat Rupa, the universal form. If you think that the flower smells so nice, God must have a sense of smell to have created this, then you are thinking about the personality of Godhead in a beginning way. So it works if you think that way. If, however, you think it's only phenomenal, only atoms and so on, and you don't want to see God in it, it's not going to happen automatically. You have to make that decision to think that way. You can still be an atheist and only look at nature as nature. So, anyway, but none of the materialistic, thoughtful men can go beyond this conception of the gigantic form. So if you don't hear from somebody who has a broader idea of God, or further higher idea of God, all you can think of is that God is in nature and he made it beautiful, or something. He's in nature, maybe he's got some personal attributes and he made it beautiful. So that's about all you can do as a independent, materialistic, thoughtful person. You can get that far. So, in that sense, the Virat Rupa is a mercy for them. So at least they can have that. So, I'm advised to think of the Lord by thinking of any part of his gigantic body. So like I was saying about if you think of birds, you think of his artistic sense. You think of a flower, you think he has a sense of smell. So thus the flickering mind can be fixed on the Lord, only nothing else. So if you think that way, you can think about God. So, And it will gradually diminish the demoniac challenge of godlessness. Everything being part and parcel of the complete whole, the neophyte student will gradually realize the hymns of Ishopanishad, which state that the Supreme Lord is everywhere. And thus he will learn the art of not committing any offense to the body of the Lord. So, you can learn, I guess even without the Ishopanishad, you can be, say, a environmentalist and be thinking about how to reduce our carbon footprint, how to reduce the damage to the earth. You can give up meat eating, you can fight against the oil pipelines, and you can do all these things. You can try to reduce the harm done to the body, the Virat Rupa body of the Lord. So we can do that. People can learn the art of not committing an offense to the body of the Lord. This sense of God-mindedness will diminish one's pride in challenging the existence of God. It does do that. If you're worried about this is God's nature and you want to not harm it, it diminishes your pride of thinking, I am a great human being, I am superior, all these pride things. So it does diminish because you're thinking about the good of something beyond yourself that's God. Thus one can learn to show respect to everything, for all things are parts and parcels of the Supreme Body. So this is, let's go back to the Sri Ishopanishad. It's just 18 mantras or verses. What time is it?
8:26.
I don't know if I should try to read them or not, but I'll read a couple. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So, let's see. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, yet he is outside of everything. He who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. So one can develop love in one's heart with this kind of meditation. Even if one doesn't have a higher understanding, one can make a lot of progress, and it's good progress. So this one verse, the Supreme Lord, and the one above it, kind of cool to me because I remember when I was little and I was in a challenging mode, also an inquisitive mode, and I asked my mother if if God can do anything, and I was like, I was guessing, maybe I was 8 or 7 or 8 or something. I said, can God do anything? And she said yes, because that's what you have to say, right? I don't think she had more realization than what we're talking about here, but she said yes. And I said, because then I was challenging, I said, well, can he run and stand still at the same time? And she had to say yes, because she just got done saying he can do anything. So she said yes. But here's the answer. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. He's fixed in his abode and he can so overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. So it would have been a good couple of verses to show me at that point in time. Mm-hmm. It's a perfect answer. So I guess I'll stop here, but you can read the whole Sri Ishopanishad. It is full of, and when I was to do student books, I would tell them the Sri Ishopanishad can help you come from the impersonal idea of God to the personal idea of God. Because there's a verse in there where you're praying to please remove the curtain of light so I can see your face. So it's a stepping stone kind of from impersonal idea of God to, because then you see God in nature in the Virat Rupa form, and then you see, okay, it's so much light, but let the light be. Yeah, no, there's nobody here. And let the light be removed so I can see your face. So I'll stop here. Any comments or questions?
Well, I remember they used to say, can God make a crooked straight line? Or how many angels can God put on that little pen? Then the other thing is one time, my first wife and my son we were coming back from Lake Huntington to see if that was a good place for him to go to school. And so he was 4-ish. And
Say what?
4-ish.
4 years old?
You know, 4, like 4 and a half.
4-ish.
4-ish.
Okay.
Between 4 and 5.
Okay.
So we were into reading this book of riddles. So we decided, okay, everybody has to make their own riddle. So he says, what stays in one place but runs all the time? And we stopped and we were like, wow. So I said, a road. Yeah, we couldn't have, well, what? Because my nose.
No.
I was going to say a clock.
I thought a clock.
Could say God also.
But his nose at that time, he had a cold.
Right. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Thank you very much. All goes to Srimad Bhagavatam, all goes to Srimad Prabhupada.